Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the news from SABA Satellite Channel from Marib. There are tonight's top stories. President Alimi urges U.S. to strengthen support for Yemen after Houthi attack on Mocha port. Military leadership in Marib and Hadramaut raises security and emergency readiness amid Houthi escalation. Houthi militia target Mocha port with missiles and drones in new attack on civilian infrastructure. Welcome back. During a meeting with U.S. Chargé Affairs Neil Hobb, President of the Presidential Leadership Council, Dr. Rashad Al-Alimi, has called for stronger U.S. and international support for Yemen, following a Houthi missile and drone attack on Mocha port on the country's western coast. The president said the attack on the port, following recent strikes on military positions, displacement camps, civilian sites, and attempts to target commercial shipping, demonstrates a systematic campaign against Yemen's economic infrastructure and vital lifelines. Al-Alimi urged Washington and the international community to move beyond containing the Houthi threat and address its military capabilities, financing, and external support, while strengthening the Yemeni government's ability to protect its territory, waters, and critical infrastructure. He also stressed that sustainable regional security requires state institutions to maintain an exclusive monopoly over legitimate force, warning that diplomatic arrangements that fail to address the threat posed by Iran-backed Houthi armed groups could merely postpone the crisis. Member of the Presidential Leadership Council, Sultan Al-Arada, has urged the United Nations to strengthen its humanitarian response as the country faces growing needs and continued attacks affecting civilians and displacement communities. During a virtual meeting with UN Resident and Humanitarian Coordinator Laurent Bouquera, Al-Arada discussed the conditions of civilians and displaced people and the need for stronger coordination between government institutions and humanitarian organizations. Al-Arada said Houthi attacks continue to target displacement camps and populated areas, causing civilian casualties, including women and children, and damaging civilian property and infrastructure. He also called on the UN and humanitarian agencies to prioritize civilian protection, expand assistance, and align interventions with communities' actual needs. Lieutenant General Sultan Al-Arada has also chaired a meeting of Marib's Military Security Committee to review the latest security and military developments amid renewed Houthi escalation. The meeting reviewed developments on the various fronts: military readiness, coordination between security and military units, and measures to strengthen deployment and vigilance. The meeting followed recent Houthi missiles and drone attacks on military positions in Marib and Hadramaut, as well as strikes affecting residential areas and displacement camps in Marib. Al-Arada praised Saudi Arabia's continued support for Yemen's armed forces and security institutions through the Saudi-led coalition supporting the government. He also urged Marib residents to remain vigilant and cooperate with the security authorities by reporting suspicious activities. Al-Arada stressed that Yemen's military and security forces remain united on a single front against the Iran Houthis, calling for stronger coordination and national cohesion. In Hadramaut, member of the Presidential Leadership Council and Hadramaut Governor Salam Al-Khambashi has chaired expanded and security meetings in Mukalla to review recent developments and raise the government's readiness aimed at renewed Houthi escalation. Authorities ordered higher level of readiness across government institutions, the second military region, and security formations, while activating emergency coordination mechanisms and updating response plans. Al-Khambashi stressed the need for close coordination between civilian, security, military, and service institutions to ensure rapid response to any emerging threats and maintain essential services. The Security Committee also urged Hadramaut residents to remain vigilant, respect the law, and avoid actions that could fuel tensions or instability. Officials emphasized that protecting the governorate's security and stability is a collective responsibility requiring unity and prioritizing the public interest. And continuing its terrorist attacks, Houthi militia have targeted Mocha port in western Taiz with ballistic missiles and drones in a new escalation against critical infrastructure along the country's western coast. Military sources said the attack struck the port, while 4 explosions were heard across the city of Mocha as smoke rose from the area. The attack comes amid renewed tensions along the southern areas of Hodeidah as Houthi forces continue to threaten coastal facilities and maritime traffic in the Red Sea. Mocha port holds strategic importance because of its location near Bab el-Mandeb Strait, one of the world's key maritime passages. Any attack on the port, therefore, raises concerns not only over critical infrastructure, but also over the security of commercial navigation in the region. The government has strongly condemned the Houthi attack on Mocha port in Taiz, describing the use of missiles and drones against the vital civilian and economic facility is a serious escalation. In a statement issued by the cabinet, the government said the attack was part of a broader pattern of targeting ports, critical infrastructure, and economic facilities, while accusing the Houthis of undermining commercial activities and worsening the humanitarian situation. The statement warned that the attack on Mocha, located near Bab el-Mandeb Strait, represents a growing threat to regional and international security, freedom of navigation, and trade in the Red Sea. The government said it would continue protecting vital infrastructure and securing trade and supply routes, while calling on the international community to move beyond statements of concern and take practical measures against the Houthis and their sources of financing and arms. And according to Transport Minister Mohsen Al-Omari, 3 port workers were killed and several others injured after Houthi forces launched at least 25 ballistic missiles and drone strikes on Mocha port. The minister said the attack caused extensive damage to civilian and economic infrastructure, including port facilities, fuel stations, storage tanks, staff housing, and other recently rehabilitated areas. Following the attack, the Transport Ministry Emergency Committee met to assess the damage and to review readiness of ports, airports, and land crossings to respond to further escalation. The ministry condemned the attack, warning that targeting a civilian port threatens maritime navigation, commercial shipping, supply chains, and the wider national economy. Foreign Minister Dr. Afrah Al-Zuba has called for stronger Arab coordination to address escalating security threats linked to the Houthi conflict and its impact on the region. During a phone call with Arab League Secretary General Nabil Fahmy, Al-Zuba reviewed recent Houthi attacks targeting Yemeni armed forces, displacement camps, and civilian sites in Marib, as well as attacks reaching Saudi Arabia's Najran region and continued threats to shipping in the Red Sea and Bab el-Mandeb. Al-Zuba stressed the importance of unified and effective Arab positions in confronting threat. That's saying Yemen's strategic location makes restoring state institutions and extending government authority across the country essential to wider Arab national security and the protection of vital maritime routes. The call comes as renewed Houthi attack raised concerns over the conflict's widening region and maritime implications. Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, and the United Kingdom have reaffirmed their support for Yemen's government and condemned recent Houthi attacks targeting Yemeni civilians, Saudi Arabia, and commercial shipping. Saudi Arabia welcomed a recent UN Security Council statement condemning Houthi missile attacks against the kingdom since July 13th and attacks on commercial vessels since July 22nd. Riyadh reaffirmed its support for UN-led peace efforts and called for full implementation of Security Council resolutions, including Resolutions 2216, and respect for Yemen's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Kuwait and Bahrain also welcomed the Security Council statement, expressing solidarity with Saudi Arabia and support for measures to protect its security and sovereignty, and calling for stronger international action to protect maritime navigation and international trade. In London, UK, Middle East Minister Stephen Doughty condemned Houthi actions that have caused casualties and reaffirmed Britain's support for both the Yemeni government and Saudi Arabia. The statement reflects growing regional and international concern over attacks that threaten Yemen's peace process, regional stability, and the freedom of navigation. That was the news bulletin from SABA Satellite Channel for Mayo. Thank you for watching and have a good time.